My name is Ria Rustagi and I'm the co-founder and COO of a startup called Newfini in Germany. And we are developing a wearable device which tracks your brain activity and based on that recommends you meditation and music techniques to help you achieve the desired state. Desired states such as relaxation, focus, concentration, and much more. As a part of our startup, every Sunday we interview experts from the domain of neuroscience, mental health, and psychology to share their expertise with us. Today we have Dr. Meena and Dr. Lata from NIMHANS. NIMHANS is an institute. It's called National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences. It's in Bangalore, India, and it's a national body which does research and helps the community in mental health awareness. So, welcome, Dr. Meena and Dr. Lata.
Hello, Ria.
Thank you.
So, these two doctors are from the team of mental health education and have done amazing work in this field. So, today we are talking about the role of education on mental health awareness. So, generally, I invite the audience also to ask any question and I will share the questions with you. So my first question would be, can you tell us more about NIMHANS and the work they are doing? Because in India, this is not very common. There are not a lot of private or public bodies which are working on this domain. So can you share something about NIMHANS with us?
I would like to welcome first all the audience who have actually joined live for this Facebook interaction with Neofini, and I thank Ria for inviting us, to talk about role of health education in, in providing mental health care or mental health access or education, thereby empowering the communities. That what the department is already doing. And coming to NIMHANS, I think, look at it already. Ria has told that it's a national institute and we come under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. And we are actually also known as the institute. We are also Institute of National Importance, which is actually passed by the Act Parliament. And we cater mainly to patient care, academics, research, and training. That's what is our main priority areas that we are doing. And we have a very active outpatient department, from the neurology, neurosciences, psychiatry, neurosurgery, speech, and many other, yoga or de-addiction. There's a wide outpatient services that are being provided. There's a inpatient services, emergency, casualty emergency provided for the neurology, neurosurgery, and psychiatric patients. And apart from that, over the years, we have also started a lot of telepsychiatry services. And, we have a NIMHANS Digital Academy, which actually trains a lot of people, that is the general practitioners, psychologists, social workers in mental health, and especially with special focus with de-addiction services. We also have something called as a psychiatric rehabilitation service, where we do have an active, interaction with the day boarders who are coming there, persons who are suffering from various psychiatric illnesses or intellectual disabilities, where we do have around 14 different centers, which looks at mainly enhancing their vocational rehabilitation, their day-to-day skills, and they come in the morning and they go back in the evening. Also, so these are some of the various activities that we are doing here.
Okay, that's really amazing. Can you emphasize a little bit on what kind of psychiatric illnesses NIMHANS is supporting for, so that the audience can kind of understand what it really means?
See, coming to the OPD services, we do have a wide range of mental health disorders that patients seek. Some of them, do need OPD services. Some of them need, inpatient services. Some of them with minor psychiatric illness like anxiety disorders or, obsessive compulsive disorders or panic disorders. If not required for admissions, they do come and, have therapy and they meet the doctors and they go back. But whereas some of the major psychiatric disorders that we see are actually, schizophrenia, bipolar affective disorder, major depression. These are some of the other disorders. It depends also from child psychiatry. If you see, you have autism, you have ADHD, and many other child psychiatric disorders. Adult psychiatry, and we also cater to the geriatric population. We do have patients coming with, the elderly coming with depression, and we also have people coming with Alzheimer's and various other organic disorders, which the elderly also see that. And coming and these are some of the, I think we cater to majority of the psychiatric disorders, and the substance dependence is one thing which is we see a lot of rise in that. And also we do have specific clinics where people technology addiction is something we are seeing a rise, I think everywhere around the world, and it's no less in India also. And we see that there's a specific shut clinic is there which specifically focuses on treating especially young children and young adults with who are dependent on their devices, or it could be or could be cases like Netflix addiction, or any other addictions with related to technology.
Okay.
Gaming is also one.
Yes, definitely. And when we
Yes.
talk about the solution and the treatment, is it a psychiatric, like a therapy treatment, or is it along with medications in some extreme cases?
See, it is actually a multidisciplinary team approach is there. I think this is one of the first institutes, I think, a major institute which looks at a multidisciplinary team approach. So you have a team of people, who actually look into when a patient comes to seek services for mental health, or whether it's neurology or neurosurgery. So the team of people, especially with, if you want me to talk about mental health, is, you would have a
Yes.
psychiatrist. You also have a psychiatric social worker, you have a clinical psychologist. So this is the team of people who are there.
Okay.
And they are the ones. And so if it requires that immediately, not each patient, I think, requires a multidisciplinary team approach. And it depends on the stages where they are also. So person who is highly psychotic, I think the first thing one needs to do is, the psychiatrist role plays a very, it's very important here, that he needs to, look at the active symptoms that the person is carrying. And, once the symptoms, the person develops insight, that is when, the role of psychologist and psychiatric social worker will step in. So it's a multidisciplinary team approach, and appropriate referrals are done whenever the services of the team is required here.
Okay. This is really helpful because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are watching us, and they would be curious to know more about NIMHANS and what they do, and if they are having anxiety attack, then should they come to. So that was my purpose of this sub questions. Now moving on to the next part, it's called as Mental Health and Neurosciences Institute, and this is very fascinating for me because I understand the connection between the two is like there's a very high correlation. Can you comment on the correlation between mental health and neuroscience?
Actually, every mental disorder or a mental illness will have its own molecular and neurological connection. So, taking an example of schizophrenia or even Alzheimer's, so everything will have a certain connection with the genetic and also molecular linkages. And also, a lot of research has been done and also proven that there is a lot of neurological undertaking behind various mental conditions. And also, what is the thing is, the more we understand about the etiology and the pathogenesis, it becomes much better to treat. It is mainly to find out better treatment options for each and every condition, and also to find out the people who are at higher risk. So whenever there is a chances of the risk being more among certain populations or among certain high risk groups, then we can intervene and also initiate various preventive aspects, and also various programs and options, better treatment options. So taking an example of war and conflict.
Yes.
I'll just give a simple example. Like for example, for me, it might be a simple issue because my resilience is very high, or my coping mechanism is very high, so that I can deal it very very in a simple manner. Whereas the same thing with a different person whose personality is of a different kind, then definitely for him it might be a really a traumatic situation, and later on it might also result in post-traumatic stress disorder, the same war and conflict. So it is like that. So it is all like various molecular and genetic imbalances, or even the connections which are really associated with the
Okay.
mental disorders.
So for my audience, I would like to ask one question here is that can we detect these mental health disorders and issues using these neuroscientific approaches? So what are the different ways where we can kind of test this? Like for blood test, like we have blood test for biological diseases in our body, physical body, let me talk like organs. Do we have something like this for the brain where we can validate what we think this problem is, like you said, post traumatic stress disorder, or even the resilience, as a matter of fact, stress, anxiety? Are there ways where we can validate this, that yes, this person is going through anxiety and it's just not a bad phase?
It is not there for like it is not existing for almost all the conditions. What is existing is something known as functional MRA.
Okay.
So MRI scan,
Mm-hmm.
magnetic resonance imaging of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So generally what we do is we do MRI mainly to look out for any pathological conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So this fMRI, the main idea behind fMRI is when the brain is functioning,
Mm-hmm.
then they'll try to study various mental disorders.
Mm-hmm.
And another few examples what I can also give you is personality traits.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be identified, and not just with a blood test. Blood test is mainly for again to identify various genetic
Exactly.
mutations or genetic traits and those
Mm-hmm.
things. So it is not as simple as a blood test
Blood
for
test.
a diabetes or for a uh, other high lipid profile or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have certain testing facilities,
Mm-hmm.
but those are a little bit different, and they're still on a research mode and going on.
Okay.
There are actually a lot of special labs that have actually been started in NIMHANS,
Mm-hmm.
wherein there's a team of neurologists and psychiatrists, looking at what Lata has told from the fMRI or, various, reports that, they access through over a period of time, and they want to see how the genetic loading has been, for a patient who might be at risk to developing a psychiatric disorder also.
Mm-hmm.
And I think recently there was also, they looked at into, they actually, also looked at how different the brain, the structure and all is compared to, they made up a specific print, something called like a blueprint, especially like how Indian brains, usually now every time it was, a generalized, brain was, studied around the world as one common, this one for, at risk for mental health disorders or something. But this time I think the team from NIMHANS, from neuroradiology, psychiatry, and so many multidisciplinary team have looked specifically, made something, what is very specific to the Indian brain structures actually. So I think this will throw light more into the future course of the questions that you have been raising, and it can answer many of these questions over a period of time, and I think we would look forward for those.
Mm-hmm. I think Dr. Meena, can you shift a little right? Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. just slightly shifting. Yes. So we have a question from the audience actually for you. What motivates you both to work in the domain of mental health sciences?
I think I don't know. I just had this interest. I think over a period of time, maybe I was fascinated with people's behaviors and why do they behave like this. From a small, from my childhood, I think based with the experiences that we had with people, I think the question was, like why do people behave like that? What makes them behave like that? I know all these things, and then from then I was fascinated, and through some of by asking questions to people, I found out that we could study something like this. There are some specific subjects one can study like that, and then I worked towards that, and then I was a student at NIMHANS, and then went on to do my PhD. And then it was my very keen interest that I would want to teach in NIMHANS. So that was my ultimate dream. So I think mainly the fascination with people's behaviors and its outcomes, actually propelled me to learn mental health actually.
And Dr. Lata?
For me, actually, my interest was from the beginning, it was mainly public health and mainly on preventive medicine. I don't know, actually, I did not have like certainly about mental health. I was like totally far away from mental health. But what really dragged me was I was very much interested in this education part of the public health, mainly
Okay.
about the public and various methods of health education and how to reach to the public, and also various aspects which are involved in reaching out to the public. So
Yeah.
that is where my major interest came to the Department of Mental Health Education, and I'm really loving that. Except for that mental health part, health education was my keen interest. But later on, like I'm now with the department for last 2 years,
Wow.
I am totally a mental health professional now, and I'm loving the work what we are doing.
This is really amazing. So now, actually, to your answer, my next question is really connected. So, do you think that you have studied it like scientific level pe? So, do you really think that people are aware what mental health is, especially in India, due to COVID and due to the different situations we are seeing in the media? The topic around mental health has significantly increased. But do you really think that they are aware of what mental health is, like what really it is?
Look at the National Mental Health Survey from 2015-2016 that the NIMHANS with the ministry they undertook. They felt that a lot of people, a majority of people did suffer from mental illness, and the percentage of people seeking care for mental health, coming and meeting a mental health professional, looking for, asking for treatment was considerably very low. So, why was that is, I think they continue to have, some kind of myths and misconceptions over a period still associate with mental health also. And there are a lot of, I think if you look at the way media has portrayed compared to the Western world, the movies or anything, you see the media role in India has been very dramatic, the way they are portrayed mental illness, and they continue to do so still. Except I think, but we are still seeing some changes with the recent filmmakers and the people, and even the media reporters have been actually, I think we have established from the department a very active media cell where we have been actually debunking myths and misconceptions with regarding to mental illness, and we have made them as one of the key stakeholders in actually working towards generating more awareness through various media clips and through various focusing on research or focusing on educating the public and all. But we still see that I think the people the attitude towards mental health and all is still little dismal among the people in India. So the knowledge is quite poor, the information to seek is very less here unless it is happening, it is really affecting the persons affected. So still that reaching out to a person is very less here. If they see someone who is having a crisis or mental health issue, reaching out and is very less, and we are actually bridging that gap by training the public with regarding to we are conducting a lot of workshops in the department once in 3 months, focusing on how the community can be a very active first aider in responding to a person who is having a mental health crisis. And we have been having good response from the community. A lot of people keep registering for the workshops and all that, but we still see that the Indian community is quite burdened with the poor knowledge about mental health. So what we call as mental health literacy, that is how literate you are towards understanding mental health. But over a period, we have been, I think in the past few years, there has been a positive trend. I think when we look at our OPDs and the queries that we get, people are actually seeking a lot of information about mental health. People are not hesitant like before, especially at least in the urban population. They are coming forward, they are discussing, and and I think with people also raising awareness through various celebrities or various people coming forward and telling that I was suffering from so and so disorder. I think people are able to connect and are able to actually uh, communicate better that they are suffering from a mental health issue here.
No, definitely. I actually agree on this that in the past 5 years, especially, I myself have seen significant difference between like the people of my generation coming out, talking out more in the open, be it 20-year-old teenagers or even 30-year-old officials who are working in professional lives are seeking out that no, I'm in depression, I need a break. If you talk about 50 years back, this was not people's behavior that I am in depression, I want to take a break. This was not very common. At least in India, we know that.
And I think we are also, one thing we are facing real here is a stigma associated with mental health, which is very high
Yes.
in the Indian population. So we have been actually doing lot of, and that is one of the main setbacks for a person to actually come and seek him or her to seek mental health treatment. Come reach to a psychiatrist, or a private psychiatrist or psychologist, or reach out to a counselor, or come to, if you see in Bangalore, NIMHANS itself, the name itself is stigmatized. So if I'm telling that I'm going to NIMHANS for a treatment,
Wow.
automatically, the negative this one is there. So people, many of someone I know actually asks, I don't want to come to NIMHANS, but can you refer to a private psychiatrist?
Mm-hmm.
So over a period, NIMHANS has, we have been trying, I think, with newer research and, the cutting edge research that is happening, and, a lot of public education programs and many other things, happening in the campus. I think now people are also looking that NIMHANS is, one of the best centers in Asia, and, it's one of the best hospitals offering mental health care. And we at the department are also trying out very new initiatives. So we had one thing we had was stories against stigma. So we actually, first time in the history of NIMHANS, I think from the department, we invited the public for a walking tour of NIMHANS. So that was taken very well by the media and, by various media houses, and, by the public. And we took the public around the institute, to each department, and through the gardens, and their attitude towards mental health was, I think, we were able to successfully remove that. They came with an idea, they came with a notion that, okay, they'll see patients tired, or they'll see very dark, dingy places, and what they saw was a beautiful campus,
Yeah.
well lit wards, and people were not chained, and patients were roaming around in the beautiful gardens as a therapeutic, this one. And they saw how patients were involved in so many activities and all that.
Yeah, I do agree. Now that you were speaking, I remember the movies from the 90s. They had a very different connotation towards like mental health. As you were saying, I could actually visualize the movies where we saw those connotations where, it was dramatic, let me say it like that. And now it has changed. And I have to say out here to the audience that we at Newfany are trying to create awareness about mental health and neuroscience, not just mental health. And in India, NIMHANS is the biggest body we were able to find who are actually working and doing research on this. So at least in the Western side, as Dr. Meena said, there is a little bit of stigma even in the Western world, but there is research, there's a lot of awareness as well around these topics. In India, NIMHANS, we know that personally it's one of the biggest bodies who are working on mental health from a scientific perspective, which is not very common even yet. So this is one comment from my side. We have one question from Samiksha. Can you more elaborate on the Brain Atlas? I don't know how we can cover this topic here in the live, but if you can comment something on this.
Can she highlight what does she really mean here?
So Samiksha, if you are listening, please elaborate the question, and until then I'll move on to the next from my side. So as we discussed, the source of mental health awareness is social media, especially now with Instagram, Facebook. This live is one of the methods which we were trying to take, and not really let me say like education in the school, universities, or even in our offices in India. So are we can you comment something on that, because is this the right way to approach it?
Like, you mean using various social media platforms?
So rather than using just social media platforms, going to the education sector, where like I know in New York, in the mental health is a subject in the academics in schools. So rather than just relying on social media for mental health awareness and education. We should have it as a curriculum. We should have a psychiatrist or a psychologist in our offices so that people can talk about their issues due to work culture. So can you comment something on that?
I think there are, if you look at, yeah, I'll first ask, Lata can speak and then I'll pitch in.
So one major thing the education department as such is doing is a lot of life skills education program. So that itself is mainly towards mental well-being. The life skills education is mainly addressed towards targeting all the adolescents and children's, and in order to improvise their mental well-being and also to promote positive mental health and also mental health promotion as a whole among the children and adolescents. And another important thing what we are also trying to look is with the additional existing facilities, like through like at NIMHANS also we have various collaborations with the sports and sports authority of India. So through them also we have identified at each district level there are some Yuva Parivartakas and people who are also being trained to address the concerns of the children and adolescents if they had some mental health issues or if they're facing any mental health crisis.
Because I agree, this is very important, because a lot of the mental health issues I remember start from the schooling time, when kids are being bullied, where there are some issues at the family which kids are not able to talk to their friends, or even vice versa. So it's very important, I feel, that we kind of embed it from the very beginning rather than approaching people at the age of 30, because it's sometimes it's difficult for them to kind of understand. It's easier for kids to show that, you know, there is equality. If you bully somebody, it can impact them for life. There are insecurity issues and subconsciously which are impacted towards the person's personality. So Dr. Meena, you also wanted to share something on this.
Yeah, see, what I want to say is, at least we don't have something called like a curriculum on mental health in none of these schools. But I agree with what Dr. Lata is saying, that schools have, devised their own specific programs which caters to mental health. So they already, one of the thing very indirectly what they speak about is the life skills approach, already there, from a young age, the life skills, there is a book on life skills which the children, all of them are exposed to. They have a lot of activities, in that only, recently I saw my son had to make a PowerPoint presentation on bullying and how to tackle the various kinds of bullies that are there, so these are some of a project, and where he had to actually do a talk, do a presentation on bullying. So these are something very, sporadically that is done, but like you told, compared to the West, we don't have very specific where we talk about mental health and all. But that most of these schools have now actually do have a counselor on hand, or do have some connect with the mental health professionals, or with somebody where if the child is having some issue, they are actually they are referred to a mental health expert or something. But we do see some kind of a resistance when it comes, when we approach schools, when we want to talk about suicide or depression and all that. So we do have something where they feel that the moment we educate the children about suicide, we are actually putting thoughts into their head on suicide. So that kind of approach I did see, especially when I want my research is exclusively on suicide prevention. So when I tried to get schools to agree for a peer-led intervention program, pilot peer-led intervention program in school, I couldn't get any permission from any of the schools, at least, because they thought that, the moment I taught, but then I had to again then look at change, my, where am I going to collect my sample, and then I had to move to some other institute. So that kind of a rigidity is still there. They're very, but some of the schools do take up this initiative. So, but it is very very individualized based. If some school wants, if they're interested in that, the principal is very proactive. She wants them, all the teachers are trained, or all as the students, and it is very specific also. So if it is 9th and 10th student standard, the focus is more on handling exam stress, or how to do well in exams. So these are the kind of topics that they would actually look forward to.
Mm-hmm. But
Something like suicide or something is little kept
but
away. Yeah,
But I
also.
do agree that we need to kind of explain the bigger picture to kids as well, like even far in the future. It's like looking ahead and teaching them before they need. So basically, giving them the tools before they really need it, so that it takes a lot of time for them to prepare on themselves.
Yes. But like how Dr. Lata pointed out already, there are a lot of work from the research perspective that's happening in NIMHANS. So I
Yes.
think many things are covered from the research perspective. A lot of faculties are doing, whether it is in the rural population or whether the urban population, large scale research is happening with the schools and all.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all, like I told, it's not very diffused. It's not to every schools that we are catering, but it sometimes ends up to very specific
Schools who are
schools.
open
That's all.
to it,
Yeah.
definitely. So then based on this, my next question would be when it yeah, but you answered kind of that. So what are the different ways of educating people? So this we talked about the schools. What about the colleges and the offices? Because let's talk about the offices and not even like for freelancers. So for freelancers, for artists, for politicians, because we know that a lot of the times different words, wrong words are used, which should not be used in that particular manner. So can you kind of comment on how, as a general, as a whole, how different measures we can take to educate people?
You mean from the whether it could be any particular population or anything?
Yes, like for India, basically for India, but irrespective of their age or their occupation.
Yeah. So again, it depends on very how what specific thing works for which population here.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I think when we talk about mental health education over a period, over these years of me being in the department, I've seen that one technique works for one set of population but doesn't work for another population.
Definitely.
So if I look at from the rural population, what we are seeing is something what they're already familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we see one of our researcher here in NIMHANS who has done street play as one way of educating the
Yeah.
rural community about mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere I think in a project with Kerala with Professor Raghu Raghavan, we are seeing how theater is actually being used, to talk
Mm-hmm.
about theater and art form is used as one way of enhancing the mental health literacy in the rural and urban population.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to urban population, we are seeing nowadays lot of theater is being used very beautifully to explain about mental health. And in schools it becomes more of puppetry and
Yeah.
drawings and dramas and all these things. So I think we need to be very specific as to what specific methodology works for which population to
Mm-hmm.
work in a better way to generate awareness among the
Definitely.
population and
But
all. And I think nowadays, I think even if you look at that, everyone is very careful in what they speak. And I
mm-hmm.
think social media has actually, created such a huge impact in that way
Mm-hmm.
that any person who is actually putting something on mental health or anything, even whether it is support or, whether they talk something nasty with regarding to mental health,
Mm-hmm.
they are trolled very heavily and, then they apologize and then they, at least I think this makes them at least go and look at mental health and, see how they can convey it in a very in an appropriate manner, I think. So these are, and we have also been doing like I told you, one was a walking tour of NIMHANS that we did.
Yeah.
So that was one kind of a very unique methodology where we educated the people.
Mm-hmm.
People, walking tour was actually, you see places, you see here there, you would have seen walking tours being conducted, but this was very unique that we took them to a mental hospital.
Yeah.
Because I was actually, when I looked at this concept and I saw only there was one graveyard tour in Europe, which
Mm-hmm.
was old psychiatric hospital which was shut down, and it was more like for a creepy kind of an adventure which
Yeah.
the walking tour was conducted. But
Mm.
we did it in a very unique way. So we thought that this actually worked very well to educating public. So these
Yes.
are different ways I think one needs to use. And we have done lot of short documentaries
Mm-hmm.
also. So the department we have been doing a lot of short movies, documentaries, and we bring out a lot of brochures and posters and all, which are there actually in our website, in our department portal, which anybody can access and all. We can and usually and through training and through various training works that the institute is doing, we have been able to actually generate a lot of awareness among the people about mental health.
Okay. So this I agree that now that you said that the walking tour, I actually think that this is like breaking stigmas and giving a reality check. What you think it is, it's not really that. What is being portrayed in the movies, that is not the reality. Just come, welcome, see how it is. It's a very normal clinic. It's a normal research institute where you are being treated as well as being researched on these topics. So this is really
So the
nice.
role of mass media plays a
Yes.
key role here,
I agree.
actually. Rather than whatever the awareness programs is happening as a part of mental health promotion, but the role of mass media is major here, especially portrayals, as you already mentioned, in maybe it is in movies or even in newspapers, or in news reports. So wherever it is, so that now there are various even guidelines which have even come up for reporting such certain mental health issues, like even reporting suicide, responsible reporting of suicide. There are certain guidelines for media professionals, and even now even the media professionals have also understood what is the actual importance of mental health, and the positive reporting is also started happening, and they've also started marking some helpline numbers, and they've also we can just see a positive shift. So that is also helping us in promoting mental health, and also that stigma is also being reduced with the help of the media, active role of
Definitely.
media.
I actually totally agree upon this because people rely more upon social media personalities and filmmakers as their role models rather than people who are kind of scientifically, such as yourself, who are scientifically validated to give information on these topics. So this is one problem I think, I think it will take a little bit of time to kind of overcome. We have one question from Ashank for Dr. Meena, that you mentioned that there was resistance at the school level about mental health conversations around depression and suicide. How can we solve this? Maybe sooner or later, but this will be needed.
Yeah, I think this is very important. I think, see, they're not telling don't speak about suicide or don't speak about, but, they don't want us to use the terminology suicide. So they're telling, why don't you talk about depression and then put the suicide aspect with that? And, but we want to actually, if a child is, or if an adolescent is feeling, we want him to tell us that, I'm feeling helpless, I feel, that, I'm feeling suicidal or something, but they feel it's a very the schools are still have that block, and they feel that the moment you talk about suicide, you're actually feeding suicide into the person's minds actually. But I think this is one thing, we need to more and more engage, I think, have some dialogues with the school and talk to them about the importance of this, because it's somewhere slowly, it is connected, and
Definitely.
we are actually at least trying, if not talk about this, at least giving them, at least we need to train them in identifying people, identifying children who might be at risk, rather than waiting for the child to come and tell that I am feeling suicidal, which might happen, which might not happen because of their own relationship with the school authorities and all. But at least the schools, I think we can start engaging with the schools that, they can identify children who might, show the warning signs of suicide, and, talk to them, take them aside, and talk to them in an empathetic way, and, see that, at least those can be addressed, and timely help, if not by the school, at least referral to some organization or to a counselor, can actually bring down the stress that the child is carrying probably.
Because I totally agree upon this, that I think more than later this is a topic that needs to be addressed kind of today, because especially with the COVID we saw that there were a lot of alleged celebrities kind of going on the path of suicides. And I remember reading a news where the kid had said, a kid committed suicide. He was like 18 or 19, and the words used were that if the celebrity can do and there is no solution to the pain, then I have no say. And this was this there in the news portrayed because the celebrities were committing. There was, especially in this COVID time, the suicide cases must have increased significantly, and the kids not knowing what to do, and people who are kind of in that age, where in that position where they are setting as examples, this kind of went in the other wrong way. So I think that, as you're saying, the suicide word has to be explicitly used rather than not using it and creating a story around it. Just one thing which I want to ask you is, it's a little off script. How about going to the different boards like CBSE and ICSC as creating this a part of curriculum? Because then the schools have to educate this, and it's not just the responsibility of NIMHANS to educate the whole of country.
Yeah, I think efforts must have been taken some time back. I think that is where the concept of life skills was brought in by all the boards. The CBSE board has that, and the state board and the ICSE boards have that. And I think discussions would have happened at maybe at the ministry level, and or at the schools level and all. And I think there must have been some concerns raised along the way, but I think it is really good. They do talk about vitamin deficiencies,
Yes.
and blindness and many other things, and why not talk about epilepsy, which happens to children in the schools, or why not talk about mental health issues and all that. So I think that is over a period. I think there is a lot of lobbying that is being happening from various bodies that these need to be included at at the school curriculum level and all that. And I think maybe it will happen. I think with so much of acceptance nowadays coming in the future, I think over a period might be included also.
We have a question again from Vidya, Dr. Lata. Any tips for people who don't want to visit a counselor to know if they have a disorder, given that the said person has had mood swings and attempted suicide a few times? And this is especially in the case of elders like 40 plus. So what to do in that case?
So it has two parts actually, this scenario, whatever they have described. Attempted suicides, the moment that word comes, it is actually a serious condition or an emergency. It should be considered as an emergency, and immediately there has to be a counselor, or there has to be a consultation, or there has to be some intervention. Or if you just take about mood swings and they're not sure whether they're really having some mental health crisis, or they're not sure whether they're really having some mental illness, so then better options are now that with the technology they have various apps which are being developed, which are also being tested through various research, and they've also proven which are to be effective also. And those apps are also effective screening tools wherein one can assess on your own what is your risk, or like for example whether you actually need some help. Or one more important thing here is you can also speak to someone whom you feel trustworthy, like for example a friend, or your parents, or your loved ones, so that you can just even share with them your emotions or whatever is going through. And at least through that discussion, if that person knows you for a quite long time, they'll also feel that okay, you're not the one whom they have seen earlier, or there's a if they feel that something is really going wrong with you, then definitely there requires a referral. Or even now primary care physicians we call, or even family physicians for that matter, they're also trained to a greater extent for screening people, and also to provide these referral services. and even lay counselors for that matter.
Yeah, I do agree. Intervention is a good idea, especially when a elder, such as like if I imagine a person, a kid is writing this for their parents, and they have known their parents have tried to commit suicide. For example, I'm considering, and especially because the age we are talking about here is 40 plus, as mentioned by Vidya. So, assuming that the kid wants to help out, the kid is 20, the kid is 15, or even the wife wants to help out, then intervention would be a good idea in seeking professional help, because if they have tried to commit a suicide, because I think there is people, I think they still have confusion between the fact that it's a mood swing, and because of the mood swing they would have tried to commit a suicide, and this might not have happened again, but they cannot understand and relate that it literally can happen anytime, and this is not even sometimes in their own control, because at that particular moment they are in that state that they want to end the pain.
And I think what is very important, Ria, here is what we typically see in our societies is the social or psychological autopsy that people do.
Yes.
You know, that I would have, you know, like for example, Sushant Singh Rajput's case is something, he has committed suicide or whatever for some reason.
Mhm.
But there's huge psychological or social autopsy that is going on by the media, by the celebrities, that, you know, he could have committed suicide for this, he could have committed suicide for
Yes.
that, or for various other reasons. So
Mhm.
even here also what we see is a person might commit suicide for a particular reason, or could have attempted suicide for a particular reason, and he knows, you know, for what, but the family and the community, you know, tells no, it could have been for this, it could have been for that. I think, you know, like how Lata pointed out is, you know, someone talking to the person, reaching out to the person, asking, how are you fine, feeling okay, you know,
Mhm.
all this actually helps a lot. And nowadays what we are
Yes.
seeing a lot is, you know, people putting up various status, you know, person, you know, with the social media coming, you know, people are not upfront in telling things, so they want people to decipher what they are feeling, so they put up some status, they put up some quotes and all that, and they want, you know. So I think sometimes when you see like that, you should maybe just reach out, okay, all fine, are you fine, how are you feeling, everything okay? Just asking that itself can actually make the person feel much better. And you know,
Definitely. I do remember, especially when during the COVID, all these famous celebrities, not just Sushant, but they were different. What was the problem they were going through? They have money, they have jobs, all these aspects were coming up. But sometimes to be going through mental health issues, there is no reason needed for it. There is literally like you can have everything in the world and you can still be kind of lonely and have these issues and disorders in place. So, as generally the last part of our section for the live, I ask the guest to share a few example. One example would be good, where you saw a significant change in a person with the with education, and how mental health awareness or maybe some solution really helped them. Like there is generally a story which is close maybe to your heart, where you saw that a person's life got changed in a positive manner due to education and awareness. Dr. Meena, Dr. Lata.
yeah, see, I think recently last year I think we did a very major study with the ASHA workers on depression.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and actually ASHA workers are mainly trained by the state health authority, state mental health authority,
Mm-hmm.
where they're just given a brief training about 15 minutes to 20 minutes of specific topics
Mm-hmm.
under the mental health, and we had done a very beautiful video which actually spoke about how an ASHA worker is reaching out to a person affected in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the ASHA workers, when we evaluated and took feedback about this particular way of methodology of training them, it was a 1 hour video that we did, which was broken into various segments about the role of ASHA workers, how she'll identify a person with depression, how she will reach out,
Mm-hmm.
and how she will actually learn to give some specific brief psychotherapeutic interventions for a person affected with depression. And the feedback from the ashas were amazing. They told we just could not get up, we couldn't stop ourselves, and we watched the movie once, twice, thrice, and this was a very unique method for us actually, and I think we really understood depression so nicely, and I think we are able to now, we are so confident in actually identifying a person, who is depressed. And we are going to incorporate all these brief psychotherapy suggestions that you had given, and and the outcome of the study was actually very beautiful.
This is amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Meena and Dr. Lata, for coming on our platform and sharing these wonderful insights with us. I would like to tell the audience that this video will be available on our website and on our Facebook and YouTube channel. You can check out our website www.newfini.com to check out the device we are working on, which tracks brain activity and helps you understand your mental state and achieve the desired state. Thank you so much, Dr. Meena. Thank you so much, Dr. Lata.
Thank you, Ria, for inviting us, and we are very happy to be part of this. And I think this was our first Facebook Live that we went, and it was a new experience. And I think the readers also and the viewers also, I think, would have benefited from what we spoke.
Definitely.
And I think any queries are there can be addressed, and we could have the concerned resource people. I think if in future if someone wants to come and be part, we can always work with Neofini and we can
Definitely.
coordinate that.
So I would like to also tell the audience the link to Nimhans will be below in the comment section, and please reach out to Nimhans for any mental health related concern, issue, treatment, research, and they, I know, have a department working on that already. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much.
Thank you.